So here's our big truth for today's session. Jesus came to turn ugly into awesome, to transform ugly into awesome. That's why Jesus came. That's why he was born and placed in a manger. And when you think about that first Christmas, there was so much ugly going on. To me, it's easy to miss that because we tend to sterilize some of the Bible stories. But man, when you think about Mary and Joseph, with Mary great with child, making a long trip to Bethlehem, that was probably not a beautiful trip for her. When you think about the state of the world, even when Jesus was born into it, it's a lot worse than we think about. Think about this: King Herod annihilated infant boys in the Bethlehem area and had zero accountability for that. That would be something almost unheard of in some ways here in today's world. At least there'd be an outcry against that. And so he was born in a very, very dark, ugly world, but he came to transform that world. He came to rescue and save the world. God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son. And so this is what Jesus does. He transforms ugly into awesome. It's what he's in the business of doing. And to illustrate that to you, I am standing in a room that I think is a really cool room. This is a room where the babies come at Hickory Grove. This is, some people might call this the nursery. But right now it is empty. It is quiet. But man, there's all kinds of cute babies that come here each and every Sunday during worship. And then also we have our daycare and preschool that's here Monday through Friday. And we have some little guys in here. But when I look at this room, man, it is really cool. There's some really neat things. There's some rocking chairs. We got the Christmas tree up. We got some stuff that you can't see out of here that are toys. And actually, if you go that direction, there are two other rooms adjacent to this room where fine motor skill toys for the kids to play with. It's a really neat area. But I remember what this space used to look like a year and a half to 2 years ago, before we did the big remodel, before we did the big construction. In fact, I'm going to put a picture on this video right now to show you some of that. And this space used to be a sort of a kitchen / storage area. Originally, the initial building was going to have a commercial kitchen in it, but it was never finished completely. And so we had a sink, we have some things that we can store food in, but technically wasn't a full-blown kitchen. And it was glorified storage that went into a hallway that ended up having 2 or 3 other storage rooms in it. It was just not pretty at all. It was one of those areas where I'm like, every time I would walk through it, I'd be like, I mean, it's good that we have this space, we can store things in it, but ultimately it's just not a great space. When we finished the construction project, the remodel project, and I came into this room, I'm like, I can't believe this. This is one of the coolest transformations I've ever seen, because this was a dingy, sort of unused, it's not an area to really help communicate it. You would have never put your baby in the space before. Like, no, this is not a place for babies whatsoever. And yet, complete transformation to an area where this is very safe and secure and fun for babies and for toddlers and for crawlers. And so I love that transformation. And that's just a good reminder of me that this is what can be done, what's possible. No matter how ugly you think something might be, Jesus is in the business of transforming that. I think of the account of Jesus encountering a man named Zacchaeus. Now, in that account, the last verse of the Bible in that story about Zacchaeus is this, and it's something that I've often quoted. It's actually a statement where Jesus says, "This is why I came." It says in Luke 19:10, "For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." In other words, for the Son of Man came to take the ugly and turn it into awesome. That is how the story of Zacchaeus is concluded. But if you know the story, you'll also know that he came, he had a crowd all around him, Jesus did, and Zacchaeus, being a very short man, ended up climbing in a sycamore fig tree to see Jesus. Jesus sees him and says, "I'm coming to your house." And then they end up having this moment where Zacchaeus says, man, I'm a tax collector and I've cheated a lot of people. Whoever I've cheated, I'm going to not only pay them back their money, I'm going to pay them back 4 times the amount of what I cheated them, and I'm going to give half of my possessions to the poor. I mean, Zacchaeus had this complete transformation. Listen, he was one of he was the number one public enemy for all Jewish people. He was a chief tax collector. He was a tax collector people loved to hate. If there was anybody considered ugly in the eyes of good Jewish people, it was Zacchaeus. And yet Jesus transformed him. And this is what Jesus does. He transforms the ugly into awesome. So when I think about Zacchaeus' story and what happened there, I think of 4 things that we can do to experience having our ugly turn to awesome. I'm going to read them for you so I can get them right. Here's 4 things. First, you must come towards Jesus, who is actually pursuing you already. You see, Jesus already knew about Zacchaeus. He looked up to Zacchaeus in that tree and said, hey, I'm coming to your house today. Hey, I've got an appointment with you, is basically what he was saying. And the truth, that same thing is true for you personally as well, that Jesus has an appointment with you. He has a pursuit of you. He has a plan for you. He has things he wants to do in you and through you. And so one of the ways you can experience your ugly being transformed to awesome is to come towards Jesus, to be seeking him, to say, okay, here I am, Lord, I'm available to you. He's already pursuing you anyway. Let him catch you. The second thing, you must surrender everything to him. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Give it all to Jesus. He can't transform the ugly if you don't give it over to him and surrender it to him. And then 3, you must trust him completely, always believing he's working out his will for your life. No matter what the circumstances, you've got to trust him. It may not feel like things are the way they should be, and you may be struggling with that, but you must trust him. You must hang on to faith in him no matter what the circumstances. And then 4th, you must love God with your whole being and love others like you love yourself. Interestingly enough, those are the 2 greatest commandments that Jesus teaches about. And we're thinking about turning our ugly into awesome. A lot of times what we're asking for is for God to just kind of make our circumstances better, to make things better for us. But what he wants to do is transform us from the inside out. And one of the best things we can do is just be obedient. Be obedient to what God asks us to do. And the 2 greatest commandments he's given us is to love God with all our being and to love others like we love ourselves. When we just say, hey, I don't know anything else and I don't like my circumstances and I feel like I've got a lot of ugly in my life, but I'm going to start doing life the way God taught me to do it. I'm going to start loving him and loving others with all my life, with all my being. I guarantee you're going to see some of the ugly in your life be transformed to something awesome. So I hope that as a group, you can enjoy some discussion about this. Maybe you can share some of the ugly that you've seen God transform, that you've visibly seen that happen either in your life personally or in the lives of others around you. And just have some good sharing time about that. And also to pray about that. Maybe there's some things that you want to see transformed in your life and that you're praying for. And you can share those same prayer requests to your group and pray together about that. But just enjoy some good discussion about that. And just remember this. Anytime you see something that might be like, wow, that seems hopeless. That seems like there's no way that can ever be transformed. I tell you, if you can see a construction company and a design team come in and transform an ugly room to a beautiful room for babies, or I've seen all over greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, some condemned buildings turned into some wonderful, highly successful restaurants or hotels or apartments. Transformation is possible, humanly speaking, but in the hands of God, transformation is not only possible, it's amazing. It's incredible. Maybe even throughout this Christmas season, as you look at all the ugly Christmas sweaters that people might be wearing, may that remind you, hey, Jesus came to turn the ugly into awesome. In fact, as you're looking at my attire today, there's one thing that might be more ugly than this sweater, and hopefully some awesome can come eventually. I've been waiting for that awesome for a long time, right? But anyway, maybe you're waiting for awesome too in your life. And I just want you to know, when you think about Christmas, when you think about Jesus and the fact that he came and was placed in a manger, don't forget this. Jesus came to turn ugly, to transform ugly into awesome. And whatever ugly you might be dealing with right now, just drop that at the feet of Jesus. Trust him with it. Love God and love others, and watch the transformation take place in your life.